Hey, I'm Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20 Minute Gamer. If you're anything like me, you don't have hours to sink into every game, and that's why I put games to the test by seeing if they can hook you in just those first 20 minutes. Today, I'm revisiting a game that genuinely changed my life, the original Silent Hill on PlayStation 1. When it first came out, I was already a huge fan of Resident Evil, and I remember assuming that Silent Hill was just a cheap knockoff. But then my cousin told me it was better. Bold words. Naturally, I had to see for myself, and you know what? She was absolutely right. I still remember sitting in front of my CRT in the dark with my headphones on, completely immersed and absolutely terrified. Silent Hill wasn't just scary, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It didn't just influence the games I loved, it actually shaped the way I think about atmosphere, music and tone, even in my own short films to this day. With the remake of Silent Hill 2 getting some buzz, I thought it was about time I dusted off the original and put it through my 20-minute challenge. Nostalgia aside, let's see if it really holds up. So Silent Hill was developed by Team Silent at Konami and released in 1999 for the original PlayStation. It came at a time when survival horror was still finding its feet, and while it was often compared to Resident Evil, Silent Hill quickly carved out its own identity with psychological horror, surreal visuals, and an emphasis on atmosphere over action. The game follows Harry Mason as he searches for his missing daughter in the eerie, fog-covered town of Silent Hill. The now iconic use of fog was actually a technical workaround for the PlayStation's draw distance, but it became a defining stylistic choice. With cryptic puzzles, disturbing visuals, and some of the most unsettling sound design in gaming history, Silent Hill became a cult classic almost overnight.
Hey, wait! Stop!
Story. Okay, so despite knowing the full story inside out and finishing the game multiple times over the years, I'm judging this fairly based on what's actually revealed in just those first 20 minutes. As always, I skipped cutscenes to maximise gameplay time, but Silent Hill still manages to get its hooks into you with minimal exposition. You're Harry Mason, your daughter Cheryl is missing, and things in this town are off. That's it. There's no huge info dumps, just vibes, fog, and escalating dread. What the game does brilliantly is use its world to tell the story. Within minutes, you're wandering through a twisted, hellish alleyway, attacked by grotesque creatures, and then waking up in a diner like it was all a bad dream. The environment drips with clues that something's wrong. There's blood-stained streets, abandoned vehicles, a constant sense that you're being watched. It doesn't tell you much, but it makes you desperate to know more. Score, 7 out of 10. Controls. After playing a few survival horror games for this channel lately, I was surprised to find that Silent Hill doesn't use strict tank controls. Instead, movement is handled with the left stick, or D-pad depending, and actions like aiming and shooting are mapped to the face and shoulder buttons. Exploring the town is fairly straightforward, but the camera is both a blessing and a curse. During set pieces, the cinematic camera angles are genius, but in regular exploration, it can be a bit of a nightmare. You can't manually control the camera, so you're constantly walking into shots blind, often running towards the camera with no real idea of what's ahead. It does ramp up the tension a bit, but I'm not sure that's entirely by design. Combat is pretty rough. You're not a trained soldier, just a regular guy, and the clunky gameplay does reflect that. But strangely, it does kind of work. You're not really supposed to feel that powerful. You're supposed to feel vulnerable. Still, it's one of the few areas where I think the original game really does start to show its age. Score, 6 out of 10. Atmosphere. Right, so this here is where the game absolutely dominates. Silent Hill remains one of the most atmospheric games ever made. What started as a workaround for limited hardware, like the thick fog covering the town, turned into one of gaming's most iconic visual signatures. And in the first 20 minutes, you get everything. Fog, darkness, hellish dimensions, blood, rusted fences, screaming monsters. It's all here.
this? What's going on here?
The game constantly shifts between eerie calm and sheer panic, and it does it all without needing jump scares. The art direction, the sound design, the use of lighting, especially the flashlight, is just masterfully done. You feel lost, uneasy, and completely alone, and it's absolutely brilliant. Score, 10 out of 10. Music and sound. I cannot overstate how important the music and sound design in Silent Hill is, not just to the game, but to me personally. This is one area that stayed with me my entire life and genuinely influenced the way I score and sound design my own short films. Even within the first 20 minutes, there's just so much going on here that's worth unpacking. The ambient music to start with that plays when you explore the fog-covered town is chillingly minimalist. It's not relaxing, but it's not aggressive either. It sits in this kind of eerie middle ground. It makes you feel unsettled without ever pushing too hard. It doesn't tell you how to feel, it just lets you sit in that discomfort. It's weird, it's industrial, and it feels like something's always just wrong. Then there's the trip down that infamous alleyway early on. The music shifts to full-on horror mode. It ramps up tension using distorted industrial noise, scraping metal, and rhythmic pulses that sound more like machinery than instruments. It's intense, and it's unlike anything I'd ever heard in a video game when I first played it. And honestly, there hasn't been much like it since. What's really special is the way the lines blur between music and sound design. It's hard to tell where one ends and the other one begins. The infamous radio static, for instance, it's such a simple but brilliant mechanic. No on-screen warnings, just this unnerving crackle that gets louder as monsters get closer. It's one of the most genius pieces of sound design in gaming history. You don't just hear the danger, you can feel it creeping in.
What's that?
The sound effects themselves, from gunshots and footsteps to monster groans and wind howling through empty streets, they're all sharp, crunchy, and perfectly mixed to pull you into the world. It's a masterclass in making limited hardware do remarkable things. If there's one thing that doesn't quite hold up, it's the voice acting. It's not awful, but it still feels stilted, like the actors weren't really given much direction or context. The performances feel flat and at times a little bit awkward.
Radio. What's going on with that radio?
It stands out in a bad way, especially when everything else is working so hard just to build that immersion. But all in, the soundscape of Silent Hill is iconic. It was revolutionary then, and it still hits really hard now. Score, 9 out of 10. Graphics and style. For a game released in 1999, Silent Hill still looks fantastic, especially when you take into account its creative use of visual limitations. The fog and ash falling from the sky still work beautifully. Even small touches I've just noticed, like ash particles physically landing on the ground, are shockingly detailed. The camera work, again, is incredible from a cinematic point of view. One early sequence where the camera tilts above you in a tight alleyway is still genuinely unsettling. At the time, I'd never seen camera moves like that in gameplay. Enemy design in the first 20 minutes isn't too wild. There's mostly dogs, weird kind of goblin things, and some flying monsters. But even with that, there's enough variety to keep you on your toes. The real star of the show is the environment though. Twisted, industrial, and totally alien. It's grimy in the very best way. Score, 9 out of 10. Gameplay. So here's where things get a little tricky. The opening few minutes are pure horror brilliance. You follow your daughter into an alley, everything goes to hell, and you're ambushed and helpless. Then you wake up in a diner. It's tense, exciting, and instantly iconic. But after that, things slow down quite a lot. Most of my 20-minute session was actually spent wandering around the town looking for 3 keys to get into the school. I don't remember doing this when I was younger, so I either played it on a different difficulty or I've blocked it out perhaps. The map gives you vague pointers, but you'll spend a lot of time wandering, shooting the occasional monster, and just genuinely trying not to get lost. It's not bad, but in the first 20 minutes, it is kind of repetitive. I found myself just dodging the enemies instead of fighting, and just hoped I was going the right way. Even when things shift to nighttime towards the end of my playthrough, the gameplay didn't really change much, it was just the lighting. I think this is one area where a remake could really improve this game. Score, 5 out of 10. Final verdict, is this still worth 20 minutes? Look, there's no question, Silent Hill is an iconic game, and if you've never played it, it's absolutely 100% worth experiencing. But if you're judging it purely on the first 20 minutes of gameplay like I am, it might not hook you in the way it once did, unless, like me, you're just here for the vibes. The gameplay does show its age, and outside of those brilliant opening 5 minutes, it's a little bit of a slow burn. But the atmosphere, the sound design, and the creativity still stand tall today. It's a masterclass in tone, and I'd love to see it fully remade with modern controls. If you want gameplay, then there are better games, but if you want to be unsettled, haunted, and completely absorbed, Silent Hill's still got it. Final score, 8 out of 10. So were you like me? Did Silent Hill scare the life out of you back in the day too? Or did you skip it in favour of Resident Evil? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying these bite-sized reviews of both retro horrors and newer games, don't forget to like and subscribe. It genuinely really helps the channel and it lets me keep exploring games from every era. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.